Hello, friends. I've been meaning to do this video for a long time to tell you about Greg Boyle, if you're not already aware of him. So you can see on the screen here, this is Richard Rohr on the left, who many Quakers will know, I'm sure. And he's set up I think it's called the Centre for Contemplation and Action. And I think this guy, Paul in the middle, runs that. And together they are interviewing Greg Boyle. So this is Father Greg Boyle. He's a Jesuit priest based in Los Angeles. And for many years, decades, he has set up and founded Homeboy Industries. Now, this is a truly amazing story. I mean, what he's achieved there with the gang members across LA is just a beautiful story, and I recommend all of you to find out more about it. I came across it with the original book, Tattoos on the Heart, The Power of Boundless Compassion, and it's just an amazing story. And another touching story is that I had already come across it, but I hadn't read it that deeply, I suppose. And as is often the case, as people in my meeting will know, I minister about what happens in the prison chapel and how meaningful it is for me. Um, and there was a chap who visited our Quaker meeting fairly often. Um, and he never, I think he had a chat with me about it one time, but not long after he died, and his daughter said to me, he wanted you to have this book. And she took the time to send it to me. I just think that's lovely. And the fact that these stories of how he gets gang members working together alongside each other in LA is just wonderful. And I think any story coming from Prison Chapel will remind you of these kinds of stories. So I wanted to just play you a couple of minutes, him talking here about cherishing, which is the subject of his new book, which I wanted to wait until that arrived in the post. So that's Cherished Belonging. And here he is talking about cherishing.
A confidence in love as never failing will really, it'll usher in that kind of moment of connection and kinship. I always talk about cherishing because love sort of gets lost, and I always say cherishing is love with its sleeves rolled up. Yeah. It's about really seeing people. So at Homeboy, it's you want to create a place that's safe, where people are seen, so that they can be cherished.
So I will put the link to that in this description so you can perhaps watch it more if you're interested. Um, I mean, it's just a lovely interview anyway. I know many of you listen to Richard Rohr as I have done for decades. He's looking quite frail there now. I just wanted to read you a couple more sentences from this particular book because it really speaks to me in terms of what we do in the prison and how we run our groups, and how I run the quiet group in particular is very much about wanting to build community and to help them to feel the healing power of God's love. It's not just about the silence. And I know many chaplains will talk, and many Quakers will talk about providing silence, but for me, that's not enough. And let me just read you a little section here. He says, at Homeboy, we try to invite folks to the mystical mind. Then we find God less and less out there and more in close, as Mr. Eckhart suggests. And I just think that's lovely. And that is, I think, what I try to do, invite the men that I see in the group to the mystical mind, to a mystical experience in the silence. And of course, in community. It's not just in silence, which we might find lonely. This is in a shared silence, in a community silence. And a bit later on in the book, he talks about a 19-year-old called Chino. And, as he's working with these young men and young women who have had very violent pasts, I've had some stays in prison and been injured and often killed. And he's talking about this healing process. And this is the words that he recounts that Chino says. So Chino says, I don't want people anymore to fear me. I want them to love me. And then Greg Boyle goes on to say, all human longing is contained in wanting to be embraced, the warmth of the village. And what he's just saying here about this this small group of people, this small community, this village is where people feel seen and heard and then can be cherished as part of God's family. And that is absolutely what I try to do in the quiet group. And I always say to the men there, we are the perfect community for today. There might be 8 of us this time. Next time there might be a few more, might be a few less. It's never exactly the same group. So this is a unique experience. But for today, it's perfect and it's all we need. And that in that space, we become cherished and we realize that that is what we want for our future. And we realize that it's possible. And that is the gift that we're giving when we're going in there. Every time we go in there, this is the gift we're offering.